Guys, give me some filler. Filler. Filler time.
Good Shabbos, everybody. We begin our service in Mishkan HaNefesh, our blue Sidur prayer book, on page 128 with Yedid Nefesh. Yedid Nefesh Avarachaman, Yedid Nefesh Avarachaman, Meshocham Decham, El Retzonecha, Meshocham Dechai, dai 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 dai, El Retzonecha, Yaru
This is a special Shabbat. This is our first time Cantor Witt and I have our band, so the official name of the band, I made a unilateral decision. Do you guys like the graph tones? Do you get it? Yeah. Andrew Sperling, Nate, you like the graph tones? Does it work? Maybe? Graph tones? Not a Rabbi Grafman? Okay. I know Stephen's watching. I think he'll like it. We read together the top of page 124, 124, and please join me. We entered the sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls, we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history and our endless wanderings, it has endured. A beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, come into the sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold. Weariness, doubts, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayers. It's our great honor to welcome the Washko family to the Bima as they light our Shabbat candles. Use the middle candle, yeah.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav metzivanu להדליק נר של Shabbat.
For those who are able, we rise together for our Kiddush 123.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reshit ki hu yom techila l'mikra'e kodesh zecher l'yitziat mitzrayim Kivanu b'charta v'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodecha b'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Migadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. L'chaim.
Take a sip. And? It's
Baruch
okay.
atah
No, we're up to that. I was asking how it tasted.
Oh, it's
Good. We continue together reading the top of page 127. There are days we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain. On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire, but to share. There are days we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation. There are days we act and care nothing for the rights of others. On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal. So we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace. We continue on page 130 with Psalm 95.
Lechu neranen al Adonai Nariya Letzur Isheinu Lechu ner נתחננה לאדוני, נריע לצור אישנו, נקדמה פניו בתהודה, בזמירות נריע לו, כי אל גדול אדוני, ומלך גדול על כל אלוהים, אשר בידו מחקרי ארץ, ותועפות הרים לו. אשר לא הים והוא עשהו, מייבש את ידיו יצרו, כי הוא אלוהינו ואנחנו אמר איתו וצאן ידו.
On page 134, we sing from Psalm 98, Zamru Ladonai Bechinor.
Adonai bechinor, bechinor vekol zimra, b'chatzotzrot vekol shofar, hariu lifnei hamelech Adonai, zamru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor vekol zimra, b'chatzotzrot vekol shofar, hariu lifnei hamelech Adonai, yiram hayam umlo, tevel veyoshmeva, neharot imcha uchaf yachad harim yeraneinu, lifnei Adonai kiva, lishpot haaretz, yishpot tevel betzedek, be'amim be'meisharim, yiram hayam umlo, tevel ve'yoshmeva, neharot imcha uchav yachad harim yeraneinu.
From our next psalm in Kabbalat Shabbat, Psalm 99, Romamu on page 135 at the bottom.
רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו.
We turn to page 138 with our conclusion of Kabbalat Shabbat with Lecha Dodi.
לחדודי לקראת קלה ירדי 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 פני שבת לקבלה ידי די לחדודי לקראת קלה ירדי 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 פני שבת לקבלה שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד השמיענו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה לחדודי לקראת קלה ירדי 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 פני שבת לקבלה ידי די לחדודי לקראת קלה ירדי 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 פני שבת לקבלה לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה סוף מעשה במחשב בתחילה לחדודי לקראת קלה ירדי 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 פני שבת לקבלה ידי די לחדודי לקראת קלה ירדי 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 פני שבת לקבלה התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך ומיורי, אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה, לחדודי לקראת קלה ירדי 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 פני שבת, לקבלה ידי די לחדודי לקראת קלה ירדי 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 פני שבת.
Who are able, we rise together to greet Shabbat HaMalkah.
Holy v'shalom ateret bala Gam v'simcha u'v'tzolat Och emunei am segula Boi chala לחדודי לקראת קלה ירדי 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 פני שבת לקבלה ידי די לחדודי לקראת קלה ירדי 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 פני שבת לקבלה.
We continue together at the bottom of page 145. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days. Lest my day be today as the one before, lest routine set my ways. We continue right there, 144, with our Chetzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה בעלמא תברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחי לכל בית ישראל בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן יהי שמי רבה מברך olam ulalmei almaya yitbarach yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'al v'yitromam v'yitnasei v'yitadar v'yit'ale v'yit'alal shemei dekudsham בריחו לאלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירן בעלמם ואמרו אמן.
We rise together, 146.
Yada dai dai dai, 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 yada dai dai dai. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach. לעולם ועד, לעולם ועד. ידה די די די, 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 yada dai dai dai, yada dai dai dai.
We continue the top of page 148. Oops, not yet, sorry.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'varo ma'ariv aravim b'chochma poteach she'arim u'b'tvuna mishaneh itim u'machalif et hazmanim u'misader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtsono borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or u'ma'avir yom u'mevi Laila umavdil bein yom uvein Laila Adonai Tzivaot Shemo El Chai v'kayam tamid yimloch alenu le'olam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim.
Amen.
150.
אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוות ברחמותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו באורך ימינו, ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה, נהגה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. אוהב עמו ישראל. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, וחיו הדברים האלה אשר נחים מצווך היום אל לבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלתך ועדרה ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, וחיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים אלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Very nice. Yasher koach.
We continue together reading the top of page 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land. The winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness. There's no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Our song of freedom and liberation, or Michomocha 158.
Yada dai 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 yada dai 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 yada dai 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 yada dai 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 yada dai 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 yada dai 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 yada dai dai dai. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha netar b'kodesh norat tehilot, osei pele malchutך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני מרים. זה אלי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם לעולם ועד. ידה די 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 yada die 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 die.
top of page 161. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will. Our Hashkivenu 160.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom Me'hamideinu shomreinu lechaim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom Behamideinu shomreinu lechaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom Behamideinu shomreinu lechaim. Lechaim.
163. We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. We continue with Vishamru.
Beshameru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. Beshameru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. בשמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. בשמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. בשמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
The middle of page 165. Prayer invites God's presence to suffuse our spirits, God's will to prevail in our lives. Prayer may not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city, but prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, rebuild a weakened will. And for those who are able, we rise together for our tefillah 166.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ברופאי חולים, ומתיר אסורים. ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
The top of page 173, we continue together. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffered find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. We continue with our Ritzei 174.
Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu me'amcha Yisrael u'tefilatam me'ahava tekabel u'tehi leratzon tamid avodat Yisrael Yisrael Amecha El Karov Lechol Kore'ah Fenei Elavadecha Mechoneinu Shefoch Ruchacha ותחזינה עינינו בשוב virachamim. Baruch atah Adonai Hamachazir Shechinato Letzion.
179. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. Make contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praise are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. 178.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Betov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום.
We now take a few moments for silent prayer.
יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
At this moment in our service, we think of those in our community who are in need of healing of body or spirit. We think of Linda Applebaum, Margaret Bell, Harold Seitling, Deborah Chargois, Greg Cohen, Karen Edwards, Bruce Fleissig, Belinda Gammon, Edward Goldberg, Jeffrey Goldman, Sandra Goldman, Miriam Goldstein, Josie Hatfield, Abraham Hausman Weiss, Sissy Held, Evelyn Held, Donald Himmel, Ralph Holtzman, Joan Jacobson, Corey Kessler, Bart Kolber, Jerry Lapidus, Wayne Lewis, Ashley Meyerson, Marlene Meyerson, Jeffrey Muss, Carol Pizitz, Michael Pizitz, Susan Schumann, Leslie Simon, Chrissy St. Charles, Brenda Weinstein, and Carol Wright. And for those with us this evening, if you are thinking of a loved one, a friend, someone who means so much to you, who's in need of healing of body or spirit, we invite you to share that name as my eyes meet yours. For those names mentioned out loud and for those names still in our hearts, we continue with our prayer for healing, a special Mishaberach.
Mishem berach avotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak veYaakov. Mishem berach imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah veRachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shalom.
Good response. Not to Dr. Honan and his understanding where I'm about to go with this, not to call you out for their Torah study group, but the book of Genesis, I think, is about two things. It's about God's creation of the world and the promise to our patriarchs and matriarchs. And then we get to the book of Exodus, which is first a celebration of a liberation, God's ability to redeem the people Israel. But then once we get past the Song of the Sea, Exodus 15, we get into becoming a covenantal people, and that is getting our prescriptions, the things that we're supposed to do, and the proscriptions, the things that we're not supposed to do. And one of these key elements that God has frustration with the people Israel is the ability to find trust. So in a way, after 400 years of slavery, this is a new trusting relationship. And with trust, especially for something new, we'll have difficulty. So in Judaism, especially as outlined in Shemot, what is the greatest transgression that one could have? Biggest sin. We think it would be murder, theft, robbery, myriad of horrible crimes, but for the God of Israel, it's idolatry. Kathy, did you say idolatry? You've got Andrew Sperling. Special prizes at the ONIG for both of you. Honan and Debbie are here. But anyways, but here is the problem. In our Torah portion, which Sam will speak on more tomorrow, the Israelites worshiped the golden calf. Moses ascended to Mount Sinai to receive the tablets, and they were uncertain and they were scared. For our great rabbis in our tradition, they have to find a way to reject the idea that the people of Israel actually engage in idolatry, because according to a theory in old Jewish law, that the Torah says that a Jew is required to give up one's life rather than worship idols. And for our rabbis, there's no way that such a thing could ever happen. So they have to process, they have to make some type of understanding or apologize for Israel's actions, because here we are in the second scroll, and engaging in this transgression, the rabbis have got to find a way to ensure that they didn't do this. So the first rationale, the first answer, is that the Israelites did not deny God. What they needed was a replacement for Moses. Moses was their figure, he was their leader, and with him gone, that uncertainty loomed in and they were afraid. So this golden calf wasn't an idol, it was another person to replace Moses. So that's the first answer in order to reject the idea that so many Israelites engage in idolatry. Then they have the Jewish mother understanding that they would have never engaged in a new God that had a terrible or foolish mistake. It's like the joke when a Jewish person robs a bank. Do you know what the Jewish mother says? Maybe they made a mistake on his checking account. So the rabbis have to find a way to reject the idea of idolatry. And when we look throughout the Torah, it is such a common theme. And then here's the third rationale. The people of Israel thought that Moses was dead. They were left without their leader, their person. And what they believed at that time, it was Moses was that connection. It's Moses who spoke to God. They didn't know that they could speak to God directly. So when Moses was up in Sinai, they were worried about they didn't have food, they didn't have water. So they were scared. Like we've all been in all elements of our life. So they needed something tangible, this golden calf, to give them certainty. Then we have the response. As the Torah says, God was incredibly angry. And God was about to destroy the people of Israel for engaging in, once again, in Avodah Zarah, idolatry. But this is where Moses shines. It wasn't when he was dealing with the Pharaoh. It's at this moment when he goes head to head with God. Verse 11. Moses pleaded before Adonai, his God, and said, "Why, Adonai, should your anger flare up against your people, whom you have taken out of the land of Egypt, with great power and a strong hand? Why should Egypt say the following, with evil intent did God take them out to kill them in the mountains and to annihilate them from the face of the earth? Relent from your anger and reconsider your evil against your people. Remember, for the sake of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, not mentioned Jacob, mentions as Israel, your servant to whom you swore to yourself, and you promised that you will increase our offspring like the stars of heaven. And here is the great rabbinic answer I think we need for us today. As the famous rabbi, the Or Chaim, says, that Moses' prayer was able to listen, that God heard it. Moses made 4 critical points. This nation was God's nation. And if Israel were to disappear, their loss would be God's loss. And by taking them out of Egypt for freedom, he had designated them as means to make his kingdom known to the world. And this is where Moses again shines. He finds a way to calm someone's anger, the God of Most High, and remembers the passage of promising to be like the stars in the heaven. It's this great pivot in our tradition. It's Moses' leadership. It's here where Moses has a commanded speech. And at the final hour, it's what Moses teaches God. Don't give up hope on this new nation. Have faith in them. Have faith in the Jewish people. And they will find a way to listen to you and find that sense of certainty. I know for the past couple weeks I've been speaking about pretty difficult topics. But tonight, it's a celebration of hope for all the people of Israel too. And we should talk about the good things, the pivots, when Israel is able to live up to its ideals. I have hope in humanity that Israel and Bahrain, they just engaged a new deal for science and high-tech technology. And once again, I find hope in our people, the good, that the Israelis are able to grow chickpea seeds in zero gravity in space to create more hummus in the world. But I want you guys to think about this. When there's so much darkness in the world, and believe me, I've been talking about it for too much. I can't hold back sometimes, but tonight it's about faith, it's about hope, it's recognizing the long journey. It's our ability to pivot when things seem against us. It's that idea to let go of that anger and find love in all of us as God created us in God's image. And I want to end on something even better. 36 years ago, 2 Basharets were able to find each other. Carol and Mike Pizitz. 36 years ago, do you guys remember that first date? Mike does. You better. And then 18 years ago, with the power of numbers, they were married. And tonight, on a difficult Torah portion, is actually a blessing, because tonight Temple Emanu-El is going to bless these loving companions, Carol and Mike. So we ask the both of you to come to the bima, and we ask the congregation to rise together. You guys are coming up here. As our sacred scripture teaches us, I am my beloved, and my beloved is mine. Adonai, God of all generations, we give so much thanks for the blessing and grace of your marriage for 18 years. And you guys look back upon the day of your union 18 years ago with empathy, kindness, and thankfulness. So may tonight this joy, this happiness be with you always. Your way of loving and goodness to each of ourselves that bear burdens as you share your joys together. Adonai, O God, a peaceful dwelling where contentment and love find a resting place with both of you. May you continue to maintain a home in which glows the light of faith, our people, which one honors the membership in Beit Yisrael, the house of Israel, our people. Adonai, grant that you grow older together. And Big Mike, I know you have a big birthday in a couple days, 88, together in health, and live in gratitude, love for your continuation of your celebration of marriage when you enter chuppah. At that moment, your chuppah was fragile, and with these 18 years, they forever have been fortified. And together we say, Amen.
Amen. Stay right there,
Baruch haba b'shem Adonai, beirachnuchem mi beit Adonai. Baruch haba b'shem Adonai, meirachnuchem mi beit Adonai. Miatir al hakol, mi baruch al hakol, mi gadol al hakol, mi tagul al hakol. Yevarech Chatan v'chala. Yevarech Chatan v'chala. Mazal tov.
Next week. And we're going to remain standing as we turn to Elenu 586.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לבני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד.
Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. On this Shabbat, we recall the yortzites of Sandra R. Apolinsky, Louis Hyman Berry, Harold Bowman Black III, Regina Blutman, Sally Brenner, Ralph Brooke, Ruth Brooke, Bradley Chesler, Jenny Chiffins, Duso Chung, Norman J. Cohen, Jacob Henry Cohn, Max Copeland, David Engel, Gladys K. Evans, David T. Feidelson, Stella Fetter, Max Goldberg, Albert B. Goldsmith, Selma Virginia Goldstone, Malcolm Gordon, Morris William Green, Clarence Hagedorn, Alan Jack Hannon, Betty Hirsch, Joseph Seymour Kimmerlin, Dorothy Cohn, Jack Ladinsky, Alex Lightman, Minor Landau Levine, Francis G. Levy, Marjorie Lichtenstein, Abe Loria, Nathan Meyer Marcuse, Eva Margolin, Louis E. Marion Sr., V. Hugo Marks Jr., Elisa McElroy, Marjorie Abraham Meyer, Ferdinand Meyer, Donald Glenn Monroe, Ella K. Morris, Daniel Noble, Abraham David Oppenheim, Barbara Dunham Ream, Florence Renown, Louis S. Rosenblum, Pauline Louis Rosenfeld, Helen Rotenstreich, Mitchell Rubenstein, Irene L. Russakoff, Arnold J. Siegel, Shirley Simmons, Isidore E. Simon, Morris Soroti, Will Slate, Barbara Kurgel Steiner, Gertrude W. Stern, Esther G. Swedlaw, Marius Schnazerjam, Luis Levy Temerson, James Carl Thompson, Roselle Toronto, Bertha K. Van Prague, Richard Waller, Brian Waronker, Moses Wheel, Sadie Jurgen, and Joseph, and our heartfelt condolences in the recent passing of Gerald Lewis, uncle of John Lewis, Louis Buddy Scholhafer, husband of Lucy and father of Lindy Edwards, and Jackie Blue, aunt of Judith Denson. We rise together as a united congregation for our Mourners Kaddish 598. Yikadal Dikadash Shemei Rabbah, Biomad Divrach Rote Vamlich Malchute, Bechayachon of Yomechon, Ufchayet Kol Beit Yisrael, Bagalah Bisman Kariv Yimru.
Amen.
Yehei Shmei Rabbah Navarach Le'olam Olamei Amaya. Yibarach V'Yishtabach Yiba'ar Yitromam Yinaseh. V'Tadar V'Taleh V'Talal Shmei Kusha.
Brichu.
Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'Shirata. Tushbechata V'Nechamata. Damiram Yelma V'Yimru.
Amen.
Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya. V'Chaim Aleinu V'Yakol Yisrael V'Yimru. Amen. Oseh Shalom B'Imromav. Hu Yaseh Shalom. Aleinu V'Yakol Yisrael V'Yimru. Amen.
Oseh Shalom B'Imromav. Hu Yaseh Shalom. Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael Ve'imeru. Amen.
Before we conclude with Ein Keloheinu, I want to thank our first annual Graph Tones performance. Yashar Kov to those guys upstairs. And we conclude with Ein Keloheinu. Come on up. Hit it, guys.
1, 2, 3, go.
Ein Keloheinu, ein Gadonenu, ein Kemalkeinu, ein Kemoshienu, ein Keloheinu, ein Gadonenu, ein Kemalkeinu, ein Kemoshienu, mich Eloheinu, mich Adonenu, mich Emalkeinu, mich Moshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Malkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Malkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avon. Shabbat shalom, good Shabbos.